Hey, True Believers. Chris Matt coming at you today with New Mutants number 16. And this, yet again, thankfully, is an excellent comic. The only thing that kills me about this copy that I picked up is the poor spine starting to kind of roll over. And I don't know if you can press that and work that out, but it's just kind of like, did that really have to be in that condition? But at least, while I was poking around my local comic shop, I did find a copy. So the reason this one is special is this is the first appearance of Emma Frost's Hellions, along with the first appearance of one of our favorite characters, which I will jump into in a moment. The whole premise is Emma Frost has kidnapped Kitty Pryde, and the New Mutants come to save her. And what I like about this is the way this opens up is it reminds me of, what was Emma Frost's first appearance? Uncanny X-Men 123 or something like that? Where Kitty was being courted by both the X-Men and by Emma, and she captures all the X-Men, and it's up to Kitty to get a hold of Cyclops and all them to come save them, which leads into more of the Dark Phoenix saga. But just this panel right here reminds me of like some old school, I think it was John Byrne at that time, action. But before we even get into this and enjoying this panel, the people responsible for this book are Chris Claremont writing, Sal Buscema penciler, Mandrake DeMulder inks, Tom Orzechowski letter, Ken Feduniewicz coloring, Luis Jones, which we know as Simonson, and the Santi editors, and Jim Shooter was the editor-in-chief. New Mutants were created by Bob McLeod and Chris Claremont. Print date on this was June 1984. And I like the way that the lettering's done, where it kind of has the dark orange, and you get that jaggedness. She's like, "Welcome, dear children, to my parlor. I am the White Queen. From this moment, your lives belong to the Hellfire Club." And just a way to start a book, man. That's just like action, stakes, everything is just right there. Now, when we went over New Mutants number 14, Claremont was sowing the seeds where Doug Ramsey kept saying he needed to talk to Kitty. As you find out at the end of that issue, he's been recruited to the, I don't remember what the name of her school was, but it was the Massachusetts Academy or whatever. And he asks Kitty to come with her, but it causes her to get captured, and Doug, for the most part, is not real aware of what's going on. But at this point, after we were doing Illyana's part of the New Mutants, and just the artwork from the art team with Sal Buscema, I mean, look at the way that how Magma uses her powers, and just look at the pain that she's melting these Hellfire goons. Just absolutely gorgeous work. And remember, this was back in the early days before digital coloring, so this was all done by hand. So seeing that is just like, that's just delicious. And the same, so Kitty is, like I said, captured by the White Queen. And I like how, as Emma kind of reveals her master plan, she's shrouded in shadow, given that very noir, villainous look. And she's like, "You'll see, but I guarantee they won't escape. And once we've gotten to know each other better, they won't want to." She's like, "You're going to brainwash them like you're trying to do to me?" "Wrong, dear heart, as I've succeeded with you." And just the facial expressions, man, that's just gorgeous work. I mean, again, traditional penciling, and to get that it's not 100% humanistic, obviously, but just the characterization and the facial expressions just look wonderful. And Emma's plan, she's saying, people still fear mutants, but they see them as a commodity because they can do what they can't. So their talents, for the most part, are up for bids. And that's kind of what Emma's ultimate plan in gaining power, what the Hellfire Club is. And again, just kind of going back to the artwork. Modern comics, they still kind of do this where they'll color out the background, but it always feels so flat and boring. Here, yes, the backgrounds are colored out, but it focuses on the facial expressions of Danny talking about how we can get out of here. What's his name? Sam saying, "Well, how are we going to fight past a telepath?" And so you kind of get that they're in a rock and a hard place, and it's not boring because you just see the expressions and you understand the type of dire straits that they're into. And the same thing when Danny uses her powers to get uniforms from these Hellfire goons, how she's able to project how these people see the White Queen, and you just kind of get like super Wicked Witch of the West vibes off of that. And then they follow up with some really compelling dialogue. Danny runs away, and she's saying she's right. Each of us has a part of ourselves that should remain hidden, but I tear it out into the open for all to see. Nobody deserves that. At least back home in Colorado before I joined Xavier's school, I couldn't help myself. Now, I do it by choice. So Danny's power is she's able to take your worst thoughts, fears, and project them into reality, hence the Emma Frost. And she struggles with it, because the first issue of New Mutants, she does that to Shen, and it hurts her, and it really caused a rift there for a while. And so Danny's coping with how to fight this power that she has and how she can control it. Now again, just look at this. So she's talking about how Emma's saying your team is resourceful because the power gets knocked out. And this Sal, I can't remember if it's Sal Buscema or John were the ones that were responsible for Conan the Barbarian or the Destroyer. Let me know it in the comments. But this just kind of reminds me of something you'd see in that, or like the early like House of what was that called? It wasn't the House of Horrors, House of Secrets or something like that. The Swamp Thing we went over. This kind of reminds me of that. That very has that creepy, eerie vibe to it, and just the attention to detail on the characters. Just beautiful, beautiful work. Now I'm kind of jumping this in stride because I don't want to give away the plot. But here, Roberto is trying to get them out of this underground bunker that's underneath the Hellions, or the Emma's school, and he feels pain. And look at the way the action lines are just shoom, in your face, and then almost the realistic anatomy as Roberto screams out in pain because of something that's happening to him. That is almost 100% realistic and just really impacts the reader going, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on with Berto? And then this is where we get into the battle with the first appearance of the Hellions. And then what makes this even more important is this is the first appearance of Jimmy Hudson, aka Warpath. Now in this issue, he's joined the Hellions, but he's going under the alias of his brother, Thunderbird. Now Thunderbird, he died in issue 95 taking down Prince Nefarious, or Count Nefarious, or whatever it is. He sacrificed his life for the team to take this guy down. And that's all you really kind of get from Thunderbird. You don't really find out anything else about his brother throughout the years until 1986. If you guys go back and watch the review we did on Classic X-Men number 3, which I just said was November 1986, Claremont, and I don't remember who the artist was at the time, but they do a backup story where Xavier and the team take Thunderbird's body home so they can lay it to rest. In that book, we're introduced to a young Jimmy Hudson, like younger than he is in this book. And on the last panel, he says something to the extent of, I vow to avenge your death. And that's kind of how we find out that that's why he joined the Hellions, is because he wanted to get back at the X-Men for allowing his brother to die. So one of our favorite mutants didn't start out as a hero. And so here's Empath going up against, what's her name, Magma and Cannonball. And again, I don't want to give all this away, guys. It's such an awesome read, and it's such a treat to look at Sal Buscema and the art teams just work on this. It's just something that you don't really see anymore. As I just said, back in the days of hand-drawn artwork. I mean, look at the expressions like here on Doug's face. People can go in and easily erase this now in Photoshop, and it's just nice to see that this was someone back on an old sketching pad erasing and clearing up lines and whatnot. It's just a treat to look at, and I wish that more comic books were done in this vein anymore instead of digital, but gotta go with the times, and maybe I'm just being a dinosaur. And again, it's nice to see Illyana on the team. And I know there's more I could go over for this, and I know it's kind of a quick review, guys, but I don't want to give this away. It's such a treat to read. I had a wonderful time doing it. It was cool to see Warpath on the other side instead of kicking butt with, X Factor or X Force or even the X-Men. So you're just kind of like, wait, Jimmy, why are you doing that? But think back in the day, no one really knew who he was. So it was just kind of, it progressed naturally. So when you go backwards, it's just kind of like, wait a minute. But yeah, guys, these early New Mutant comics, so spectacular. And I can't wait to get issues, because I've had a hard time finding 15 and 17. So we've gone over 14. And we've gone over 18, which is the start of Bill Sienkiewicz, which, his artwork is just masterful and lovely to look at. But the Demon Bear arc's what kicked him off on the New Mutants. And I just can't wait to get all the rest of the old books, because these are just as much a treat to read as Uncanny X-Men, and I'll even say Excalibur and Chris Claremont's early Wolverine comics. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below about this issue. If you've enjoyed it, please, first and foremost, support your local comic shop and pick up a copy. If you can't find an original, I have seen that on the, the reprint rack, they do have a reprint of this. So if you can't find an original, they have at least released this in a reprint where it still has all the original ads and whatnot, but it's not an original. And that's where I get a little OCD once in a while. And if you've enjoyed this review, guys, we really, really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel out more than you can possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little mutant bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys can come to the channel. And as I just said a moment ago, we love hearing your thoughts and just talking with y'all down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.